Loser. Dallas. Let's move to Dallas.
Yeah, this KP thing, man, it was literally, I can remember the ridicule of the Knicks franchise just being like, oh my God, you idiots, you ruined the KP thing. This guy was the greatest thing that ever happened to you. Now he's going to go save Dallas and raise them up from the ashes and the Dirk Nowitzki legacy and blah and blah and blah and this, and it's over. It's over just like that with a whimper. Not even a second round appearance with the KP and Luka pairing, and they basically admitted defeat, cut their losses and got him the hell up out of Dodge. That's crazy.
They admitted defeat in the form of Davis Bertans. he was the white flag. He's draped in a white flag. Rob, you weren't on the pod when that trade happened. Were you surprised that they just basically said Porzingis is just a damaged asset? We're just selling like he's a sunk cost?
A little surprised, and less surprised that they traded Porzingis and more the players they got back, because I mean, I'm sure you guys talked through the Spencer Dinwiddie part of this. I don't really see him as a fit next to Luka. I don't see him as a fit next to Jalen Brunson. I sure as hell don't see him as a fit next to both of those guys. How they're going to manage that guard rotation, I don't really know. And so, Kristaps Porzingis, injury concern, obviously, has not been a guy who's been able to finish playoff series for you, which is a big problem. This seemed like the Mavs swapping out their preference to have guys who could at least be out there versus a more talented player who could not, unfortunately.
Are we about to see the Mavs go all in on small ball? Because Kristaps Porzingis, despite all the obvious flaws with his health and all that, and the inconsistencies, the fit with Luka on offense, all of that, he was good on defense this year, better than he's been in some time. And for Dallas now, they got Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell, Marquise Chris, Boban. Like, this feels like a team. Like, Kleber's not a rim protector. He's more of a switchable, versatile perimeter guy. I feel like the Mavs, at the rest of the season, they're built to play small and only small, unless Boban's out there. So
also,
in that sense, I'm intrigued.
And Dragic was supposed to be a buyout guy for them, right? That was the big word in the streets. So they'd also be adding him. So are they going to be trying to attack with multiple guards, like a little like that OKC team that had CP3 and SGA and Schroeder? Maybe
a lot of that is contingent on whether or not Luka, how willing Luka is to kind of go off ball and embrace that. And one of the big problems too with the KP thing was they brought him in as a guy who was going to have like skill set synergy with what Luka does, and he wasn't the same lob threat that he was in New York. He's not flying around like, if you go watch some of that New York footage, man, he was throwing his body around. It was just like scary. Of course, it ended up being bad. He got hurt, and it's like he was somebody that couldn't be a table setter for himself. He had to have the table. He was more of a patron than a chef, and it was like he just couldn't. I'm curious about the Dinwiddie thing. I mean, hypothetically, he and Bertans are hypotheticals, and I think for them to kind of move Porzingis along for these two hypotheticals, where if they pan out, they'll be really good for Dallas. Charks told me a story. I wanted to tell you all this, an anecdote about KP. Judging about like his confidence about being in Dallas, he said before the season, KP was asked if he wanted to do one of those charity things where every time he blocks a shot, a certain amount of money is donated. He declined because he said he didn't figure that he was going to be there the whole season. So this has been
wow.
So this is just something that hasn't been good for a while, basically. So
last thing about KP, and I remember that Knicks stretch too. And I think I did a unicorn piece for the Ringer at the time, and we were having a unicorn battle because we had Giannis and Embiid and Porzingis, and it felt like this new era of these weird players we hadn't seen before with these tall guys who could do all these things. It's such a bummer that he got hurt in that game. I really do feel like he never was right ever since that day when he went down. I just never thought his lower body moved the same. We've seen this with other big guys, but I really believed in that guy's talent. I thought he was an excellent, like this guy who was basically this stretch five who you could go to in big moments, and he could actually create shots for himself. But then on the other end, could just stand there with his hands up. And, it's a bummer because he's got to be like 27, 28. And it just feels like he's on the other end. What were we going to say, KFC?
Oh, no. I mean, I think with KP, like Kyle, like with the drafts, I remember Porzingis. Remember the year before the draft when he pulled his name out? But then like that 1 year later, he gets better. He becomes a lottery pick. Everybody thought OKC might take him the year prior. But like at the time, the vision of KP was this dude who could do everything on the court. He could run off of screens and shoot threes. He could, if he grows into his body, he can post up. It's just the health. His durability is so bad that just derailed everything. And for Dallas, I mean, you traded for that upside when you got him from the Knicks. And I think it was a worthy gamble because of the idea of what Porzingis could be going back to when he was playing overseas to going back to what he was with the Knicks. It just didn't work out. In this situation, I don't, it's a complicated deal. I'm not sure I would go as far as calling them a loser because I don't think KP's that good. And I don't think he's that reliable. He's a sub 30% 3-point shooter this season. He has proven he can't stay healthy. He's not somebody that you can lean on and rely on. And for Dallas, they don't get anybody back, though, that you can rely on. But I'm not sure you can expect to get that for Porzingis. And I really think this is about just like shuffling the deck, spinning it forward, and trying to become more versatile and flexible in the trade market by having two smaller contracts instead of the one bigger, longer term one. Like I really think that's all it's about here for Dallas. It's about like the money and get it becoming more flexible to build around Luka. I don't even think it's about this season as much as the future.
I spent 3 weeks on Twitter trolling Minnesota Timberwolves fans while KP was still on the Knicks and good, that KP was better than Carl Towns.
If he had stayed healthy,
it was a 3-week stretch when that happened.
If he had stayed healthy, their trajectories were similar. I was just thinking when KOC was talking about him breaking down, and skills. Bill, you were talking about unicorns. The common denominator there is we have stayed surprised by these big bodies, these skill sets working their way over time into these big frames. And it's like athletically, man, sometimes things are too good to be true almost. Like we're seeing it with Zion, where it's just like some frames just can't quite handle the pressure over time and they break down. And it seems
I
like
worry
KP,
about that with Embiid.
You know, what if KP had played like Kareem or something? If he had like a back to the basket game that wasn't as like dependent on facing up and cutting and flying around and stuff like that. It's just interesting to think about how it would have played out because he absolutely was on a path to be great.
Well, another winner is all of us because now Joe House has Kristaps Porzingis in his life. And I think the tweets, the texts, I just really look forward to it. Can I read you the 2015 draft, which I think is officially drunk when you go look at it on Basketball Reference? Here's how the draft went. Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Jahlil Okafor, 3, Porzingis, 4, Mara Hazonia, 5, Willie Cauley-Stein, Emmanuel Mudiay, Stanley Johnson, Frank Kaminsky, Justice Winslow. That was the top 10. I mean, honestly, that might be the worst top 10 of any draft since the famous 2000 draft.
Since Mike Miller?
The worst draft of all time. Yeah. That is like, Towns is the best player, obviously. But man, I mean,
D'Angelo Russell's an all-star. He was an alternate for the East.
So then we get Turner was 11. Booker was 13.
Okay, Book.
It's rough after that.
The second round actually isn't too bad if you go look.
Yeah, Norman Powell is 46.
Got Rashawn Holmes in there.
Weird draft. And that was
Connaughton.
also the draft that Danny Ainge tried to trade 4 first-round picks for Justice Winslow, which had the trade happen, I probably wouldn't be here now. I'd be in jail.